Okay, hello. My name is Lindsay Westerfield. I work at NASA as an IT security specialist, and I'm here to talk about collaboration and how women are very good collaborators and how this can help your career and give you some insight into my career. So what we're going to talk about is my life, how it is right now, just a little get to know me a little bit. You can kind of understand what I'm all about, and then how I got to here, where I am now, and my advice to you. So this is my family. That's my husband, Zach. He was in the United States Air Force. And that's us last Easter. And my daughter, Kennedy, she's 5, almost 6. My son, Andrew, is 13. And this super fat cat here, that's Pepper. And that's Katniss. So, very good cats. I love my cats. Oh, sorry, wrong button. Okay, I thought, we're all girls, we all have best friends, right? I wanted to introduce you to my best friends as well. This is Hayley. She was my college roommate, and nothing has changed in the years that we've known each other. We have fun, we get rowdy, and she's the only person that's ever gotten me kicked out of a place. So, she's crazy. And this is Tammy. Tammy is a fish scientist at University of California, San Diego, which is my alma mater. You can see all the fish tanks where she breeds different types of fish. And she is very smart and silly. So a few of my interests are baking. I made these cookies. I made this cake for myself because no one made me a birthday cake. I like bowling. I'm part of the bowling club at NASA Ames, and I'm proud. I'm not good, but I'm proud. I love makeup. I love Sephora. I love Ulta. I love all of it. I am obsessed. I watch the YouTube tutorials, everything. So I love putting my face on in the morning. I love to travel. This is the Taj Mahal. This is Nepal and Paris with my husband. We really like going places and doing unique things, and we've traveled all over Europe. So I wanted to talk about how I ended up at NASA, like from, where I'm from and all the way I got to NASA. This is us watching the solar eclipse recently, and I'm drinking a Capri Sun, because the sun. Anyway, all right, this is my hometown, Escondido, right there. And just to give you some perspective, that's Disneyland. This is Shamu down here in San Diego, that's Mexico. So I'm very, very Southern California. That's where I'm from. It's not a very big town, but it's part of San Diego County. This is me around your age. I was, I believe, 12 in this picture, thinking I was super hot stuff with my Discman and batteries. This was Christmas. At your age, I was very unsure of my career path. I did not know what I wanted to do. I didn't have ideas. I wasn't thinking about college yet. I was just kind of having fun. I was really interested in tech and computers early on. Much more so than my sisters, and really didn't play sports much. I was very much into, those kinds of things. And I was also good at math back in the day, and as you can see, absolutely excellent at plucking my eyebrows, almost completely off. So, yeah. This is my junior high. I wanted to include this, and it was Kate's wonderful idea to include it, that I went to a very private, very small junior high that was on a farm. And I called it farm school. It's called Rocky View. This is the Google Maps of how it is today. In the front, you can see that there's garden boxes. There is a chicken coop there, hiking there. This was not a tech school. This wasn't like here, where everyone's focused on computer science and programming and things like that. It was very much about, I learned how to knit, how to sew, how to play piano, how to tend chickens, which I hate to this day, hikes, growing vegetables, that kind of thing. And one of the best things that I did when I was there was I had to write an essay every single week. And that was a skill that was very hard and very uncomfortable to develop. And it's a skill I use to this day, being able to convey information very well. And it will set you apart if you choose to go into STEM, because a lot of people in STEM have trouble, getting their point across in that, in sort of like a white paper or a long written word. Okay, so in high school, this is my teacher, Mr. Siegel. I also went to an alternative high school. It was a charter school, it was independent study. So I went in and did packets just like that, and I helped him grade those packets too. And I was in math club. This is the start of me fully going all nerd, all in. I enjoyed junior high, but I was kind of over the chicken thing, and I took a test and was able to get into high school early at 13, and then jam through all my packets and get out and start going to community college at 16. Still did not know what I wanted to do, but I was starting to get a very good idea of my skill set by what classes I was getting like easy A's in. So ended up at UCSD, University of California, San Diego, Jacobs School of Engineering. That is the CEO of Qualcomm, Irwin Jacobs Jr. And that's me, like super young. When I chose engineering, it was because I was passing those classes. I liked physics, I liked math. The natural course was engineering, and I read a book on engineering, and the one that seemed the most math-based and the easiest was electrical engineering. So I pursued electrical engineering at UCSD. I survived my classes. It was very difficult schooling, but very rewarding. I learned how to solve problems, how to break problems apart. A lot of the math is very complex, and this is my favorite equation, or identity, Euler's identity. And it brings together natural numbers, e and pi, imaginary number I, 1 and 0, which you can express in radians using trigonometry. So it kind of brings together all of those different aspects of math into one identity, and it's beautiful. And I use that pretty much every day for my junior and senior year of electrical engineering. And then eventually I graduated. Here is me at graduation with my friends Andreas and Nima. And the topic of this talk is collaboration. And I would not have graduated without Andreas and Nima. They were my people. We all had other duties outside of school. I had my son Andrew. By this time, he was 3. And so I definitely needed to get my schoolwork done and go home and take care of all the other things I had going on in my life. This took dedication and routine and sacrifice. I did not get to go to every baby shower I wanted to go to, or every birthday party, or even celebrate my own birthday most of the time because it was during finals. And I missed out on some things, but I'm glad that I did, and I'm glad that I stayed committed, and that can be very difficult. So having a community of people who are doing the same thing, maybe they're both transfer students, the same like you, or something like that, it'll keep you on course. And in the end, I had learned how to learn. And I think that was the most valuable thing I learned in engineering, solving problems and how to learn, because everything is changing and you're going to need to learn new things over the course of your career. I pushed the wrong button again. Okay, so I had an internship at Connexent Semiconductors, which is now, I believe, NXP Semiconductors. And I got the internship through a friend of my dad. I said I need an internship, and he called some people, and so I was very lucky in that way. That's not everybody's story. I did a lot of Excel. I learned a lot about data collection. What I did was system validation testing. So I tested over different voltages, different temperatures, and different processes, which is how they put the silicon die on the board to make the chip. So maybe it's a little wider, maybe it's a little skinnier, maybe it's a little hotter, colder, et cetera. And can you still get within the parameters with all these different variables all over the place? So what you do is you learn to ask smart questions. Why is this failing? Why am I not getting the numbers I need? What's going on? Is it temperature? How do I troubleshoot this? And this was a very valuable tool I learned when I worked at Connexent. And believe me, learning Excel is not a singular process. You need people to help you and show you spreadsheets and the tips and tricks that work for what data you're collecting. This is another representation of the same thing. You can see process, voltage, and temperature, and you can see all the places it could be in the middle. And when you're a test engineer, you're trying to prove that it works as designed. And you have to be very tactful when you tell someone that their design doesn't work. Just a little piece of advice. Next, I worked at General Atomics, Aeronautical Systems Inc. GAASI, this was acronym city, acronyms, OMG, everything was an acronym. I worked on GCSs that flew UAVs for the USAF, you know, it's all acronyms. So this is a ground control station. This is the pilot, and this is the sensor operator. And you can see they're flying over a car. I think you can kind of see it right there. These down here are what an airplane would be. You see the stick. You have the radios in between, all kinds of things. And that's just in a box on the ground. You can see it right there. That's what's inside. And those are some of the other places where people sit and plan missions and things. And that's the drone itself. You can kind of get an idea for scale. You see the men standing next to it and on top. It's a pretty big aircraft. And so this is where I learned self-sufficiency. My job was to test the entire GCS, ground control station, end to end, and say, yes, this is safe for flight. That was a big job. And it was, you know, a lot of learning, a lot of figuring out, you know, where do I get what I need? Who do I ask? And I had to develop relationships. I had to ask smart questions and collaborate with a lot of people to ensure that each part that I tested and each question that I asked and each answer that I got was telling the story that was correct, which is that this will fly an airplane. So this is the manufacturing plant. This is what my work looked like. It was like every day wearing one of those little coats and the whole thing, and it was kind of silly. And if you do good testing, you will get good systems that work. This is just a representation of the system. You have 3 different ways of commanding the aircraft. You have the ground control station on the ground that has backup generators and batteries and all these things. And it's a very complicated FAA certified system. And I really learned so much. And luckily, I learned networks because I got married. This is my husband, you know, and that's my daughter, Kennedy. And I put entropy because my life got incredibly complicated after I got married, because we got orders to Germany. The Air Force sent us to Germany, and we lived there for 3 years. And the test engineering, you know, all that stuff, that was back in Tech Town in San Diego. It wasn't in the small town in Germany where we were at. So I had to find a job on base. And I had to learn some new things. New career, new acronyms. Whenever you go work at someplace new, write down the acronyms, ask what's going on. NIPRNet, SIPRNet, DOD, all these things, they all mean something. And I got to work on secret networks, and that was very interesting and rewarding. And this is a picture that looks very similar to where I worked, because you couldn't take a picture of where I worked. It was behind 7 different cipher locks. It was really cool. And here I learned that the military has or the Air Force has a different way of communicating and training people. Tell, show, and do. Hey, I need you to do this. This is how you do it. Go do it. Be successful. And that was very important for me, because I had been kind of just doing it on my own and trying my best to, like, once I figured out what I needed to do, I just kind of did it. And they had to stop me from doing that. And they said, you know, you need to work with us. You can't just do something in the Air Force. It's so complicated, so many people involved, that you really need to communicate, and you need to learn exactly how to do what we're telling you to do. So very regimented. Also, I did a lot of studying for certifications, because I was required to have certifications to work there. So I get married, I move to a new country, and they're like, take a test. You know, it was pretty overwhelming. And so I did end up learning, and I ended up collaborating and figuring out all this new stuff. Here are some of the certificates. You can see this is my engineering degree. I had to get a Security Plus certification when I moved to Germany to work for the Air Force. That is a CISP, a Certified Information System Security Professional. That's when I started to move into the security realm of IT. This is when I studied malware, which is, you know, malicious code that runs on a computer. This is when I got a different certification for another security-related wheelhouse. And then I did a social engineering class as well. Social engineering being how to convince people to click on things, open doors, give you passwords, all that kind of stuff, how to find out everything that's out there about them, you know what Facebook does. No, just kidding, just kidding. All right, so I thought at this point I wanted to kind of take a break from all the things that I've done and just say the top, your plans, you have this finish line, right? You're gonna get there and like everything's gonna be okay. And that's not really what happened for me, and I don't think that that's consistent with real life either. You have all these obstacles and all these things, and each one you can see a little red flag, a little goal, and you just move to the next goal. And you will go through some things, and sometimes it'll be easy. There's a little bridge there, and sometimes it won't. So things that happened to me, I started college without declaring a major or having a university picked out or any sort of plan. I changed states. I had a child. I changed colleges twice, which I do not recommend because you gotta move all your credits, and they don't want to take the credits, and it's just so complicated. And I moved to a new country. So all these things were my little bumps in the road, and I wasn't expecting any of it. And I still set goals and achieve them, but I've never hit the finish line. There is no finish line. You just keep going. So what's it like to work at NASA? And to sum it up in one word, I put alien kind of as a joke, but kind of apt as well, because it is definitely very different than working for military contractor, for working for the military, from working for a private industry. This is government. So I work at NASA Ames. You can see California there. There's all these other centers. We all have to work together for cybersecurity. I found NASA to be very challenging. Everybody that works there is super smart, right? They're there because they're good at their jobs. And so it can be a little intimidating at first. It can be hard to get your foot in the door there. But I enjoy being challenged. And so I really do like working there. I put open-ended. And this is because the government works a little differently than private industry. Private industry is usually about quarterly results. Government contractors about the contract. What are we doing with what money we have? And NASA, they have their budget, and sometimes they have extra money left over and say, hey, do you want to do something? Do you have an idea? Do you want to, conduct some research into something? And that kind of freedom and those long timelines are one of the best things about working for NASA, that you can be more creative and explore things that interest you. Also, there's government stability. You have jobs. People work there for 20 years, 30 years. It's very good place to work. It's the best place to work in the federal government, actually, several years running. And so that's very nice. The company's not going under, right? NASA's not going anywhere. And it's very diverse. They have very strict hiring practices. They're laid out, federally regulated. Everybody gets they have to get through the certain framework. It's not just like, oh, we like Joey, hire him. Yeah, he knows that guy. Like, no, it's not like that at all. So you end up with a very diverse workforce, which means you have a lot of very interesting ideas floating around. This is my office. I thought it'd be nice to kind of see like where I work, right? There's a lot to see here, so I put some little arrows here. Those are Valentine's flowers for my husband. These are toys I have. And those toys are right next to where people come in and sit in my office, because a lot of the people I work with are kind of fidgety. They kind of, they don't want to maybe like look me in the eye. And if we both kind of just are messing around with a toy or raking the little Zen garden or something, it kind of makes the conversation flow a little more easily. Here's my government-issued laptop covered in stickers, which is technically illegal, defacing government properties. I didn't find that out until like 2 years later. So I'm going to have to scrape them all off when I give it back. These are events I've planned. You can see those posters there. I have been part of running, or I've been in charge of running the Cybersecurity Awareness Month events for NASA Ames 2 years running, looking like I'm going to do the third year as well. Also, the morale events for our entire code, which is about 150 people in IT at NASA Ames, and we all get together and we have a big party, and I've put those parties together. Here, that on the door is a meme of my boss. It says Hack Beth, and he's holding a thing. And I point that out because, and you can see the cat astronaut thing too, because it's nice to have a place where you can be a little bit more relaxed. It's not stuck up. It's not, people wear stuff like this all day, and it's very academic working there. And so I really like that there's that level of freedom and kind of joking around. Which I think leads to better collaboration. And they have free posters of astronauts to inspire you. Okay. Oh, and my mom did that painting because she loves flowers, and she's very creative and artsy and wonderful, and I love her. Okay, So I want to talk about my work, what I do. So you've seen where I work, and I've told you kind of about NASA in general, but this is what I actually do. I am the subject matter expert for phishing for the center and partially for the agency up until about a year ago because it got subcontracted out. I work in the research of Internet of Things. Does everybody know what Internet of Things is? You heard of that? Connected, you know, your fridge is connected to the internet, or your Roomba is connected to the internet, and these things can talk to each other, your Alexa, those kinds of things. They're not a typical computer, but they also have information that needs to be secured. So I do research into that, same with industrial controls, drones, and process improvement, which is another passion of mine, is how can we make this run better? Let's not be wasteful. Let's do something with what we have. This is me and my intern, John. I was his mentor over the summer, and because of this research, we just got a project approved to start doing some more research on the center, and we're very excited about it. It's into phishing. So that's us presenting our research. So phishing, what is phishing? Do you guys know? Does anybody know? Yes? Do you know? Do you want a pencil? Because I brought pencils and pop rocks for people who wanted to like answer questions if you wanted to. Yeah? Go on.
So like I've gotten a phishing message before. It was like out of the country. So people lie to you in that message saying that, oh, someone in your family is in like mortal danger or something, they need money or something like that. And they tell you to send money to a place where it's like where they are located so that they get the money and basically they just rob you.
That's very true. One of the things I do is I do education about phishing, and I tell people the current research, the current trends, things that are going on. Phishing is very profitable. You can make about 10, 20 grand on a single successful phish, and a phishing malware package on the dark web's about $200, $250. So very good business, right? That's why you get so many phishing emails. And what we need to do is we need to protect ourselves against phishing by being what's called, quote, human firewall. I could go on, but the basics is that it's very popular to be phished because it works. And so be aware, like she said, be aware of things that are kind of fishy and people are asking for money and it doesn't seem right. Don't click it. So drone security. This is a drone that we have at the center. We were having some problems with it, doing some crazy stuff with the data, so they asked us to secure it, and we designed a system that will secure the drone. That can involve things that are not typical IT. I'm not sitting and running a script on this drone. I am doing things to change policies, procedures, what people think, how people do things, how things are recorded, how things are done, so that this is more secure. And that is a very challenging job. So what's IT? Sometimes people ask me that. They're like, isn't it just computers? So I'll just go past this one. This is the world of connected things. So you have all these different sectors: energy, consumer, transportation, like stoplights, things like that. And then you have the different applications of it, healthcare and helping people with vehicles, like Teslas, they're on the internet, right? And then from there you have all these different locations where you have IT at, hospitals, fire stations, things like that. They all have IT. And so it's not just their computers. There's so much that goes on and goes into IT, and it's a very broad world. And so I found that even though I studied electrical engineering, and it was electrical and computer engineering actually, but I ended up gravitating toward IT naturally because it's very interesting to me, and it's so connected and crazy, and you can learn so much, and I love it. So one thing that I said before, you have to be a lifelong learner. You have to know how to learn. We go to conferences a lot. NASA sends us to conferences, and we learn new things and hear from the industry. So that's a little thing that they let us solder, people learning how to solder, and those are lockpicking. Lockpicking is a part of social engineering. You lockpick, you get your way in, you dress as a FedEx guy, you know, you try to get in and see what you can do, right? That's part of penetration testing. It's a service that a lot of information security engineers perform. Okay, sorry. Okay, on to advice. Has anybody heard this quote before? Comparison is the thief of joy? So what I don't want you to do is think, oh, like Lindsay did it that way, I need to do it that way. Like you need to have an engineering degree, or you need to be really good at like writing long papers, or you know, really like talking to people all day long. No, do it your own way. Remember the picture with the different, you know, challenges? Everyone has a different trajectory. And another thing is, it's okay to not do it all. You know, you don't have to get a PhD if you don't want to. Don't feel like you have to do something if it's not for you. Okay, so more of what I do is I mentor and I volunteer, and I'm a morale leader. This is me making paper space shuttles at a STEM fair, a local elementary school. Me and the intern, and he's wearing a tinfoil hat there. Right here is my Arduino board, and I actually programmed it to play the Super Mario theme song. And this is very similar to what you guys did today when you were playing little musical notes. I wrote something very similar, and it's, you push the little button and it sings the Mario theme song. And I brought this as a demonstration to encourage people to pursue electrical engineering at a high school event. It also has a 1-pixel camera. It has a single LED that's a photo LED, and you touch it and it produces the colors of 1 pixel. So one thing that is very good about volunteering and mentoring is that if you can't explain it, you don't understand it. So I think that it's really good to get involved and to talk to people, because by talking to you, I really need to understand what I'm saying. And then I get to have a strong sense of self, which is very important, especially as, I keep pushing the wrong button, especially as a woman in engineering. Morale, I love it because you get to hang out with the group, you get to do fun stuff. This is one of those events I was telling you about. It was America themed, if you can't tell. So these are some shenanigans around NASA that I thought were funny. This is smashing servers at an event for cloud. This is me arranging all the weird Halloween candy that we ended up with at the office. I don't know, I felt like I needed to. You can see one of the offices back there. That's my friend Karan riding his sister's bike in the lobby. This is me in the visitor center. This is the Future Flight Center. They put up a simulation of Mars so we could pretend like we were on Mars. That's pretty cool. This is Halloween. We all got dressed up. I am basic for Halloween. And that's Urkel. That's my supervisor right there. This is all the interns at NASA. They were color-coded interns, just like you guys are today, and I loved it. And this is us winning the chili cook-off, 5-alarm chili champs. We won that this year, too, 2 years running, just saying. This was Mario Day, you know, March 10th, Mario, you know. So, lastly, the boring stuff, my advice to you. You can't control everything. Your hair was put on your head to remind you of that. So I think we've all felt like that, like out of control. Oh, there's so many tests, there's so much going on. You know, my parents, my friends, my phone, et cetera. I mean, it can feel really overwhelming. And my advice to you is you know, it's okay to not do it all. So far we've talked about me a whole lot, but I wanted to talk about collaboration. So as a woman in STEM, I have found that there is a spotlight on you. People notice what you're doing, especially if you're the only one that's there, right? People can see you and they want to ascribe like womanhood or whatever to you, even though you're an individual. And you can use the spotlight to your advantage. People will notice your achievements, they'll notice your skill set and your goals, and you'll get recognition. Unfortunately, the spotlight can be a bad thing as well. There are stereotypes about the sexes. People will ascribe stereotypes to that may not be true, and it might be harmful to the work environment. But a very wise woman at Stanford has said that the role of culture is not zero and the role of biology is not zero. We are different, but there's a lot of cultural differences as well, so we are unique in individuals. So one thing I recommend is have a plan. Expect that something's going to happen, that someone is going to disrespect you. Assume that you're the admin, which has happened to me. They're going to assume that you're an intern when you're a grown woman. They're going to assume that, you know, you're just going to leave at 2 o'clock every day because you have kids, or, you know, I mean, these are things that happen. So you might be expected to earn people's respect just because you're a woman. So you can do that. You can just have a plan and you can do that. You can, you know, toot your own horn. And one of my favorite quotes is, "Do not attribute to malice what can be adequately explained by stupidity." Sometimes people just put their foot in their mouth, right? They're really not trying to be mean to you. It can happen. So again, don't let idiots ruin your day. And women are very good at communication. So communicate a lot, use that to your advantage. And to wrap up, collaboration, use empathy in communication. It's important to establish a reputation. You can use the spotlight to do that. And manage your expectations in relationships at work. And I think you'll be very successful. And lastly, this is my mother. All that I am or hope to be, I owe to my mother. This is her holding me as a baby, and that's her recently, and I would not be here, figuratively or literally, without her. So any questions? I got 2 more pencils and 2 more candies for anybody who wants to ask me a question. Thank you.
All right, so we have time for about 3 questions, so we'll do 3 questions.
Sure, yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
As a mentor, how would it feel to meet somebody new that you never met?
I would say that you don't know what their skill set is, and maybe you don't know if they're going to be a good mentor to you, if it's going to be a good fit. That can happen kind of like when you're at a new job or a new school, but by asking questions and getting to know them, you can see where you will fit in. Maybe you're going to be really involved with them or not so much.
All right, we've got one over here.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you with your job?
I would say a 10. It's a very good job. I love it. I love working there. Yes.
Why did you choose to go like engineering, math, and why do you think was your biggest motivation to do that?
I felt like physics was really cool, and I liked all the different problems they had to solve, and learning about my environment and the way heat exchange and those kinds of things. And so I just kept taking those classes. And it's just because I was interested in it and enjoyed it. And yes, it was challenging, and sometimes I was losing my mind, pulling my hair out, but I really did personally enjoy learning those things.
All right, one over here. Yep.
Yes?
So you mentioned fishing. Is there any specific type of fishing that you went into? What were you mostly focused on in fishing?
Okay. I do fishing education campaigns, which means I launch what looks like a phishing email to everybody at NASA, and I try to get them to click it, and then when they click it, they have to come have a chat with me about phishing. And so what they are is they look very similar to NASA communication emails and very similar to the kind of phishing emails that we see internally. So I do a lot of research on the phishing emails that we get in-house, and I try to replicate them and send them out to teach everyone. So it's kind of like herd immunity. Someone reports the phishing, and then everybody gets the immunity because now we know to block that. Does that make sense?
I know this is really weird to ask, but have you ever sent anyone to space or something?
No, I'm not involved in flight. I'm mission support. But some interesting things that is kind of surreal, I think is kind of like what you're saying, is I did approve the website for Kepler. I was like, oh, I just approved Kepler's website. That's really weird. And another thing was I wanted to patch a system that was out of compliance, and it was busy talking to the ISS. And so they told me I can't touch it. So little weird things like that happen at NASA a lot.
Right, one back here.
One more? Okay. Yeah.
What were the essays you wrote about, and did you have fun writing them?
No, I did not have fun writing them. They were about just whatever was on my mind. Just a poem, a certain person, whatever. I had to do them every week and turn them into my teacher at that teeny tiny farm school. And it really taught me that you just have to begin. You just have to sit there and begin, because otherwise you'll never get it done.